So welcome to your Yoga Fit and Nidra Relax class this evening, everybody. I've kind of had this idea in my mind all day about fluidity, so I'm going to try and just weave that into everything you've all said, and we'll see what comes out. So we're going to start, if you've got a pillow or a blanket, something you can be really comfortable on. I'm just folding up a regular pillow from my bed and sitting on it. So I've got a little bit of height under my bottom. And then coming into easy pose. So instead of having your legs crossed and getting pins and needles, let's have one foot a little bit closer in front and then the other one resting just in front of that again. Try and get as much of your legs on the floor as possible and just see how that feels into your hip sockets. And then as you arrive there, just have a little wiggle from side to side. Just kind of send your weight into one sit bone and the next, just to try to balance out the heaviness in those bones. And then just come back to sitting. And we're going to roll the shoulders a few times, just taking them up, back and down, and just letting the head move with the shoulders. So if you feel a bit scrunchy in the upper back, in the shoulders, in the neck, this is just a great move to come back to as many times a day as you need. Most of us need to do it up, back and down. And then today, let's see how it feels to just do that the other way. Taking the shoulders forwards. You might find it feels a little bit strange because we usually focus it so much in the opposite direction. And then do one more going up, back and down so that we can end with the chest nice and open. So let's just start with a little bit of arriving for our practice. You can just have the hands cupped and rest them on the knees today. If you know any particular mudras that you like, hand gestures, you can bring those in. So one of my favorites is just finger and thumb lightly touching, if you need a bit of energizing, or if you need a bit of patience and calm and discernment, you can do the middle finger and thumb. And just let them lightly touch with the rest of the hand facing up. So you choose which one you want to do. And then we're going to close our eyes, if you're comfortable with that. And if not, just kind of peep through your eyelashes towards the floor. And start to lean back slightly, as if you're leaning back against an imaginary wall. And that wall's made of clay, so you can start to feel down through the back of the body, as if you're making an imprint into that wall behind you. So perhaps feeling the back of the head just leaning back a couple more millimeters, and behind the shoulder blades. And then noticing all the way down the spine, the weight resting into your sit bones. The chin's down a few degrees, so we're looking for a lovely long neck up through the scruff of the neck. And we're just going to sit quietly for a moment. And as we sit quietly, we're going to scan through the body and notice what we notice. So just take a lovely big deep breath in to begin. Maybe breathing in through the nose if you haven't got a cold. Taking a really big sigh out, either the nose or the mouth, whatever feels comfortable for you. Do that 2 or 3 times. Big, huge breath all the way to the fingertips and the toes and the crown of the head, as if that breath is filling up every little bit of space in the body. And a big sigh to let it go. And then one more breath there. And then just allow the breath to come and go in its own natural way. Just kind of have a sense of observing your body doing the breathing without you doing anything to it at all. Maybe notice the sound of your breath, particular pitch and tone as you breathe in. As sound travels towards us, it sounds one way. And then the sound of the breath, as the breath leaves the body and moves away from us, it has a slightly different quality to it, a different tone. It's like when we hear a car coming towards us and then moving away. So just notice the sound and then the feel of the breath as you breathe in, maybe through the nose. If you haven't got a cold, feeling that breath come down the back of the throat. And allowing the breath to drop all the way down into the belly. So softening the tummy completely. Can you let the belly button just push out a little bit? as the breath comes into the torso. Our lungs expand, the diaphragm presses down, the tummy gently fills. And then exhaling, just kind of watching the reverse of that pattern. Feeling the belly drop in, the rib cage kind of close down around the spine, the air leave the body. Notice how the air is quite warm as we breathe in around the nose. The nostrils are quite cold as you breathe in. And then notice how it's warm as you breathe out. So just starting to get into some detail around sensation. As you feel that rush of inhale and let the belly fill and rise, notice the top of that breath where we feel quite full up and expanded, and then it's a little pause. And then let that breath go completely, watching the exhale disappear and sitting in that longer pause after the exhalation. It's a natural point of relaxation and softening through the body. So every exhale and into that space after the exhale, just allow your body to relax. So maybe relaxing around the crown of the head. So noticing sensations around the outside of the crown of your head, so above the head. What can you feel in that space? And if you've had headaches, sometimes it feels like a big pressure on the head. So see if you can feel a real sense of softening, almost opening all the way around the crown of the head. Can sometimes feel like there's a bit of a funnel that sticks out from the crown of the head energetically. So see if you can relax and allow that funnel to be open. And then relaxing your forehead and the eyes. Notice if you've been frowning, concentrating, can you soften? Relaxing the cheekbones and the jaw. So letting the teeth be apart. Have you got tension in the jaw? Can you let that go? And then as we relax the front of the face and the jaw, then can you send your awareness to the back of the neck, where the head meets the neck, and just make sure the chin's down a few degrees and you've got that lovely length all the way up through the scruff of the neck, and that sense of leaning back into your imaginary wall, and just release any tension that might be held behind the ears. Sometimes if we've had to smile for a while, you get that tension right there behind the ears. Can we let that go too? And then down the neck into the shoulders. Maybe as you breathe in and out here, just feeling that natural expansion across the chest, the rib cage, the shoulder blades, that sense of inflating momentarily, and that sense of deflating momentarily. Just watch how your body's moving. And then can you completely relax the arms and maybe allow them to feel a little bit heavier into the hands where they're resting. So the hands on the knees just feel a little bit heavier as the arms go more quiet. Maybe there's something inside the elbows to soften and let go of and melt. And then dropping down into the hips and the pelvis. It's feeling really heavy in our base. Relaxing the thighs. Feeling the ground underneath you, having that sense of contact with the floor. And feeling the feet inside all the toes. Just start to sit with all these different sensations from all these different body parts. And sometimes as we come into our practice, we arrive in a particular pose and we give it a bit of time. As we root down into the earth and feel heavy, you can also feel a bit lighter and taller back up through the crown of the head. So gravity's drawing you down, and then ground reaction force, equal and opposite, is helping you grow tall. So we almost feel like a rose with really strong roots into the earth, and then the head feels quite light, like the head of the rose just resting on the top of the stem of the spine. And see if you can just get a feeling sense of all of that. And then maybe feeling beyond your skin, almost as if you've got a ready brick glow around you. What sensations can you feel around your body? And can you allow yourself to take up a bit more space? Maybe imagine that feeling sense is filling the whole of the room that you're in. Maybe even going through the floor underneath you, or through the walls around you, or out through the ceiling. Just take up as much energetic space as you can. Good. So kind of staying with this sense of awareness and this depth of detail. I'm going to gently start to peer through those eyelashes, looking at the floor first of all, and still not really moving anything. Just notice how your body's feeling as you observe it through the eyes. The eyes are opening, and then maybe through sound. What can you hear around you? What can you hear outside or in the room, including my voice? Let all the sounds wash over you. And then just feeling your body sitting upon the ground. So the literal translation of asana, sometimes it's referred to as like yoga poses, but asana actually means to sit quietly upon the earth. We haven't even really begun yet, but you've already begun a huge amount of yoga already. Good, so we're going to place the hands down now on the knees. And we're just going to start with some lovely circles with the body. So just feeling into the fluidity of it. Just circling the torso. And allowing the shoulders to kind of move and groove. So as I roll forwards, my heart comes forward, my shoulders go back. And then as I roll back, I'm kind of rounding a little bit, sending my shoulders forward. So just really try and accentuate that movement, almost as if you're inside a barrel and you're trying to clean all of the sides and the edges with your body. And at any point, if you prefer to draw your focus inward, go ahead and close your eyes and just get more into the feeling of what you're doing, or just keep them softly open. If you're keeping an eye on what I'm doing or keeping an eye on what you're doing, just keep them softly open. Good. And then we're going to pause here and take our circles the other way. Deep breath in through the nose if you haven't got a cold. And big sigh out. Now you can breathe out through the nose or out through the mouth, whatever's comfortable for you. I'm going to suggest Ujjayi breathing. So as you breathe out, imagine that you're steaming up a mirror or your glasses to give them a clean. And it's that noisy kind of ha sounding breath from the back of the throat. So if I was holding a mirror in front of my face and going, it's that kind of sensation that we're looking for with the breath. So you're breathing in and then sighing it out. So quite long, slow, deep breaths. Good, and then as we come back to center, just a few cat-cows here. So curling the tailbone under, dropping the head, rounding the back. And then arching the spine, peeling the shoulders back, heart forward. And exhale, rounding, curling up, chin down. Inhale, opening the whole front of your body. So as we move here, again with fluidity, thinking about opening up kind of vertebrae by vertebrae through the spine. So when we curl up into that little ball, we're opening up all the vertebrae on the back side of the spine, from crown of the head to the tip of the tailbone. And then when we open up the front of the body, it's all of the sides of the vertebrae that run down the front. So feel it from your pubic bone to your heart, and then right up to the chin, and go for maximum space. So one side, maximum space down the back, and then maximum space along the front. Good, now we're going to just swap our legs round. So we're just probably going to be in the less comfortable side. Just placing the hands back down, just doing your lovely cleaning out the barrel Sufi rolls, just gently circling the body and getting those arms in as much or as little as feels comfortable. So I'm kind of doing the cat-cow and circling. I'm rounding as I roll back I'm arching as I roll forward. So get your head and your neck and your shoulders all involved as well. So you're moving all in one piece. Everything's connected. And then coming back into that lovely Ujjayi breath. Just deep breath into the belly. Big sigh out. Now we're going to pause and circle the other way. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. So just noticing how this feels down through your legs. Down into the thighs and the hips. I'm just going to do a couple more in this direction. Good. And then as we come back to center, I'm going to just take the arms behind our backs. So I'm just going to show you from the side. Just interlace the hands so the palms are facing in. I'm just going to go for a little lift with the arms just to open up across the chest. And then just bring the arms up and down a few times. So just bringing in a bit of movement. Notice what it feels like between your shoulder blades. Take a deep breath into the chest. And as you exhale, can you relax your shoulder blades? So we're going to find a point now where we're going to pause the movement. Relax the shoulders and the neck. So drop the shoulders down away from the ears. Think about a lovely long neck. And almost look up to wherever your ceiling meets the wall. So we just want the chin slightly raised. Keep lifting the hands up as high as you can. Start to lift up the heart. Take a deep breath into the chest. Deep breath out. Good. One more big breath here. Look for maximum inflation, maximum expansion. And then gently release. Couple of shoulder rolls. Letting the head move. Brilliant. Now we're going to bring the soles of the feet together and just start to let the thighs open a little bit more. So it's a bit easier to have the feet further away. It's harder when you bring it closer in, so adjust as you need to. If you can get hold of the feet, great. We're just going to kind of draw the feet in and the heart forward. So I'm kind of pulling my body towards my feet and my feet towards my body. Relax the thighs as you drop the shoulders down and open up across the chest. So if the hands are holding the feet and you start to round and get really small, think about sitting up, peeling the shoulders back and getting as tall as you can. That's it, well done. Relax those thighs here. Now we're going to go back to the wobble. So just from side to side. Keep growing tall, keep bringing your heart forward. My arms are working pretty strongly here. And then come back to your breath. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Good, so just one sitting bone and then the other. And then coming back to center, relaxing those thighs. We're going to do some tiny circles here, which should feel fairly deep into those inner thighs. So just doing this as strongly or as gently as you need to. And just keep thinking about relaxing those legs. Relaxing the hips. And maybe allowing the knees to draw down towards the floor. All softly, softly. No pushing, no forcing. Just waiting. Finding our calm and allowing the body to open. You'll find there'll be a little moment of give. And then we're going to pause and do our circles the other way. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Good. Just easing that through the hips. We hold a lot of our emotional tensions in the pelvis, so just working on this bit for a moment. And then just taking the hands forward and coming into a kind of little forward bend up and over your feet. So relaxing the head, relaxing the shoulders. Just slightly grip the hands and squeeze them back towards you so you can again bring your heart forward and down. And then just relax as much as you can here, just softening, relaxing, taking a sigh. You might find as you relax, then you suddenly just drop into it another few millimeters. Just let yourself fill up that space that you found. Take a nice big breath in, maybe into the back of the body here. Breathe into the sacrum, breathe into the back of the ribs, up to the scruff of the neck. And then exhale, just soften in another few mil. And then walking yourself back up, let's take the hands behind our backs, placing them on the floor, fingertips pointing back, press into the hands and then just lift up the chest. So we're looking up towards the ceiling, relaxing those thighs, squeezing the shoulder blades down and back towards each other. So that little V shape where the shoulder blades draw towards each other at the back of your body, just keep working there as you press into the hands and breathe fully into the front of the body. So big inhale, big exhale, and then gently walking yourself back up to center. So holding onto the feet one last time, dropping one ear to one shoulder and stretching out the other side of the neck. We're just going to hang out here, letting the heaviness of the head make a little bit of space on the opposite side, on the other side of that shoulder. So maybe feeling it from ear all the way to the edge of the shoulder, and then back to center and drop the head the other way, and just take a few sighs, relax. We don't really need to go anywhere. Just find a little moment of contentment. Just keep your shoulders peeling back, down away from the ears, and take a big breath into that stretch, into that space. Good, fantastic. Now we're going to bring the hands under the knees and turn ourselves around into all fours. And then from all fours, really lovely move just to ease into the body. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Just going to do a few circles. So we're not going to hang out here for too long, but just use this as a way of massaging the back, the neck, the shoulders, the pelvis, and allowing everything to kind of come back into a nice natural alignment. So feeling rather like a table, quite flat down through the back. Make sure you don't drop the head. Keep the back of the head as if it's still leaning back against that imaginary wall. Imagine it's still behind you. And then big breath in through the nose if you haven't got that cold. And sigh out, either through the nose or through the mouth, but looking for long, slow, deep breaths. And then pausing, let's just take this the other way. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Everybody's doing really well. Just being careful how you're taking weight through your wrists. So widening the fingers as much as you can and pressing into the tips of all 10 fingertips. Little bend in the elbows to protect the wrists. Good, now we're going to tuck the toes under as much as we can. Maybe just open the knees a little fraction. We're just going to start to walk back and come into a little squat. So just leaning in your squat, just resting down towards the heels. So we're trying to take the heels to the floor, stretch out the Achilles, and just see how that feels. And then come back into your all fours. We're going to take a little cat and cow. So arching the back one way, arching the back the other way, and then rolling yourself back into a little squat. Good. When we get to the squat this time, we're going to sway from left to right. So I'll just show you that move from the front. Literally in our squat, and we're trying to almost bring one knee down to the floor and then the other. That's it. So just sitting your bottom down in that middle point, trying to sit down low towards the ground. And then after a few rock and rolls from side to side, you walk it back out. You inhale, arch, looking up. Exhale, round, rounding the tailbone under, dropping the chin in. And then walk yourself back and take a few more little sways through your squatting move. So make it fluid, make it inquisitive. There's no hard and fast rules. So if you really like the squatting move, stay here for a bit longer. If you want to spend a bit more time in your all fours, inhaling, arching your chest, finding that space from the chin to the pubic bone, exhaling, rounding your back, maybe taking a few breaths there, arching through the back. Just explore the movement, taking a little bit of time in each element. And then finding a rhythm with your movement, with your breath. So breathing in deeply, breathing out fully. Walking it out, using some weight onto the hands, little bends in the elbows. That's going to protect your wrists. Cat-cowing, maybe doing that 2 or 3 times. Maybe holding one of your cat-cows, and breathing there. So it can feel quite nice just to breathe with the arch in the spine, as if you're squeezing the rib cage down towards the pelvis. So squeezing the back of the waist can feel quite nice. And then it can feel equally lovely to tuck the tail under, round up to the ceiling, and then breathe across the back of the ribs. Breathe across the back of the waist. And if you find a point that's a bit niggly or a bit challenging, then maybe spend a bit more time in that movement, in that space, because usually the challenging spaces, the things we need to spend a bit more time in. Now this time, as we roll back into our little squats, maybe if you can drop the heels to the floor, but don't worry if you can't. This time we're going to try and open the knees up as wide as we can, hands in prayer if you can take the balance, if not, hands onto the floor. And just keep sitting down and then growing tall. So sitting into your bottom, and then inhale, lifting up through the front of the body. Press the knees apart with those elbows, and then place one hand onto the floor, elbows against the knee. I'm really trying to open the legs, and then inhale the other arm up. So coming into a little twist, getting into the shoulders and the neck. And then take a few breaths up there, in and out, maybe looking up past your hand, and then dropping that hand down, opening the knees wide, bringing the other arm up. Take a few breaths there. So when you're ready, exhaling the hand down, inhaling the other side up. And then taking a few breaths, taking your time. Good. So just doing each side a couple more times. Really, really, really well done. Looking good, everybody. Good. And then we can come from our squat, and we're going to walk it out into our all fours and start to explore some lunges and some planks. So hands nice and spread, little baby bend in those elbows, and you can either take one leg back to explore your plank, that can be absolutely fine, or you can take both legs back. We're going to press out through those heels, so we're stretching open the calves now. Drop the pelvis down a little bit, and then lift the heart up away from the floor. So you're really pressing strongly into the hands. We're just going to breathe in here. If it's too much for anyone, you can drop onto the knees. But if you're okay, we're just going to hold our plank for a little bit longer. So we're really mixing up kind of movement with more isometric holds. So you might find your breathing gets a little bit more challenged. See if you can keep breathing in and out through the nose. You're activating the whole of your core. So maybe find a bit of pelvic floor engagement and a bit of tummy coming in around the belly button. Good, and then dropping down onto the knees, we're going to take the right foot and place it up to where the right hand is onto the floor. We're going to come into a little lunge. So start off with both hands inside that front foot. Maybe take the foot out to the side a little bit, and then just start to send your hips towards the floor. And if you can, gently try to get your elbows down onto the ground. So that might be too far. If it is, you just stay on the hands and start working towards it. So there's a sense of allowing the weightiness of the pelvis to come down. And then if you're okay, resting all the way down on the forearms. Now either you're on the forearms or you're on the hands, but then what we're going to do is take the right arm and just slowly start to lift it back up towards the ceiling. So we're bringing in a little twist. Make sure your right knee hasn't swung out to the right. Keep the knee over the ankle. Press down into the top foot. And we're just going to breathe there. Just going to breathe there for another few seconds. Keep dropping the pelvis, lengthening the spine, and finding your lovely little twist. Good, and then drop the hand down. We're going to pick up the back leg and step the right foot back, and then step the left foot forward. So just swapping your lunge around. Now we're going to drop down onto the back knee, just to make it a little bit easier. And then have a little play if you can get your elbows down to the floor. Explore relaxing your pelvis. Just feeling heavy through the pelvis. And either you're down on the forearms or you're up on the hands, but we're going to inhale and then twist and lift the left arm up towards the ceiling. Good, so reach up tall through that left hand and make sure your left knee hasn't swung out to the side. Keep pressing down really clearly into that left foot and then find your breath. So it's a bit of a challenging pose. The breath might get a bit short. So can you take a really deep breath in and a nice deep breath out? Still finding a little bit of pelvic floor and lower tummy engagement. Good, and then bringing that hand down, take the back knee up and come back into your plank. Now at any point, if this gets too much, just have a little stretch back and just feel really nice just to lean your bottom towards the heels, or maybe even a full child's pose with the knees as wide as the mat, the toes touching and coming all the way down for a little rest. So any option, you've got that open to you. Now we're going to do that movement with a bit of fluidity. So take an inhale, come up into your plank, step the right foot forward, drop down onto the elbows, inhale, right arm up to the sky. Exhale, right foot back. Inhale, left foot forward, drop down onto the elbows. Inhale, left arm up to the sky. Exhale, left foot back. Maybe find child's pose, have a little rest. Maybe do a few cat and cows, whatever feels good for you. And then when you're ready, second side. Right foot steps forward, drop down onto the elbows. Inhale, right arm reaches up. Exhale, drop it to the floor. Come all the way up, step back. Inhale, left foot forward, drop down onto the elbows. Inhale, left arm up, come back. Up onto the hands, left foot back. So you're just going to do that move 2 or 3 more times, working with your breath, taking a big inhale in and a big exhale out, and then trying to find a point of kind of softness, even if it's challenging and you feel a bit stiff or it's a tricky twist. Can you ease into it? Can you look for a bit of fluidity? So make sure you've done it the same on both sides. And when you've finished your last set, I'm going to come into a wide knee child's pose. So knees as wide as your mat, toes touch. Settle your bottom all the way down, forehead onto the floor. And take a few big sighs here to completely relax. So the arms can be out on the floor in front of you. And it can feel nice just to take a little fluid wiggle from left to right with your bottom. So you're leaning into the left leg, leaning into the right leg, and just feeling a kind of depth through the hips, as if the thigh bones are coming deeper into those hip sockets. And the crease at the front of the thighs is deepening and kind of moving back, which might help you feel kind of longer through the torso and flatter towards the floor. And then if you've done your little wiggles from side to side, then just rest somewhere in the middle. Now we're going to change the breathing into golden thread breath, very simple. Just make a hole in the lips, as if you're blowing out a candle or blowing through a little bubble wand to make some bubbles. And the candle won't go out. You're trying to blow the biggest bubbles you can. And just do that super long exhalation. Perhaps 3 or 4 times. And maybe with the eyes closed, just take a moment here to draw your focus inward. As you breathe in, what expands in the body? Where does that breath go? And as you blow out that breath, can you watch that breath leave the body through that tiny hole in the lips, as if it's on a golden piece of thread, continuously coming out of the mouth. And with the exhalation, can you let your whole body soften and relax into the floor? We're looking for a sense of melting. Maybe inhaling into the belly, soft tummy. And then exhaling, blowing that breath away. Okay, so big inhale. I'm going to press the hands down into the floor. Start to lift the head up and the elbows, so it's just the hands pressing down. And then come back up towards your all fours. We're going to come towards the back of the mat. Have the knees hip distance apart. And as you drop down onto the forearms, just want to get into the shoulders and the neck, because that was quite a thing for most of you this evening. So we're just going to do a few lovely circles here. Circling the shoulders, kind of around and over the elbows. So we're resting on the forearms. The chin's in, the back of the neck is long. We're just going to take some nice deep breaths in and out. Almost imagine or feel that you can breathe into the length of your spine here. So it should feel really long, from the tip of the tail all the way up the scruff of the neck and out through the crown of the head. And you can imagine you've got little puppet strings pulling your spine in just slightly different opposite directions, just gently. And look for that spacious sensation around the crown of the head again. Loosening up those shoulders, loosening up the neck, and let the sides of the neck relax. So the head might start to sway as you do these circles. I'm going to pause and circle the other way. Taking that deep Ujjayi breath into the belly. Sighing as if we're steaming up our glasses or steaming up a mirror held in front of our face. Dropping into that kind of compression of the back of the throat to help you control the breath. And you're going to sound a lot like Darth Vader. It's going to be a noisy breath. So finding that deep, slow breathing. And then coming back to center, staying exactly where we are, we're just going to take maybe one arm out at first. But if you're comfortable too, press the hands down and then just start to drop the head and the heart towards the floor. So hopefully the head will reach the floor. And then you're just leaning your bottom back away from the hands, kind of peeling the shoulder blades up towards the ceiling, but letting the heart soften towards the ground. So it's like a puppy pose when a dog has that lovely big stretch out through their paws. Spread your hands as wide as you can, press them down into the floor, and then lean your bottom back away from the hands. So you feel super elongated. And if it's too much, bend one elbow to the floor and take it one side at a time. So that's your easier option. Good. And then on your next big inhale, pressing into those hands, slowly walk your knees back in. So we're back in our all fours, tuck the toes under. And this time as you rock forwards and back, spreading those hands wide, bending the elbows. Keep the elbows bent and the arms completely parallel. So be wary of them diamonding out to the side. Keep the elbows completely parallel. And then slowly start to just ease your way up towards dog. Now we're going to kind of come in and out of this with real fluidity. So we're just rocking and rolling forward and back. And then almost like you're tricking yourself, like you're not ready for it. You're kind of less aware. We just gently allow the knees to pop up off the floor and allow the bottom to ping towards the ceiling. But try not to think of any downward dog shape that you've done before. See if you can make this a new experience. So pressing into those arms. And then as we come up this last time from our rocking and rolling, probably getting the thighs nice and tired, we're going to hang out upside down for a moment. Just bending one knee deeply and then the other, dropping into one heel and then the other. Again, looking for fluidity. So bring in a certain sense of grounding into the hands and feet. And with that comes a bit of an ease around the shoulders. The more you bend the knees, the easier this is. And think about tilting the tailbone up to the sky, just to lift the hips up a bit higher. That's it, you've got it, well done. And just enjoy that move with the legs, walking out one heel and then the other. Really, really lovely. Good. And then we're just going to walk the feet towards the hands. Have them about hip distance apart as you spread your toes start to rock down onto the feet and just take a little bit of weight forward and back here. So into the feet and then into the hands. So as we come into the feet, we're going to feel the whole of the feet on the floor, almost like we're about to kind of sit down into a chair. And we're going to keep the chest on the thighs. And then as we roll forwards into those strong arms, you might suddenly feel like you want to pop your feet up off the floor. So it's just bringing you towards handstand. Now we're not going to do handstands today, but just playing with taking weight through the hands and the shoulders, and just pinging yourself up onto the tippy toes and lightening up the legs. And then as we come back the last time, just hang. So hold on to opposite elbows, weight evenly in both feet, rest your body on the thighs, bend the knees, and relax your head completely. Start to let the shoulders roll down towards the floor. So it might be a bit easier to bend the knees a bit more. And as you hold on to opposite elbows, let the shoulders hang, let the head hang. Maybe just nod the head a little bit to release tension around the back of the neck. So your head weighs about 8 to 10 pounds. So just sighing here. Remembering you can take child's pose at any point. And then we're going to do some rolling up and rolling downs through the body. So spread your toes wide, plant into the heels, bend the knees, release the arms. And as you inhale, breathe into that soft belly. And then exhale, blow the breath out. Start to engage your pelvic floor and your tummy. So feel the belly hug in towards the spine, the lower belly. And then as you have the weight into the heels, as you exhale today, we're slowly going to come up one vertebrae at a time. So we're rounding up. Now imagine we're uncurling against that imaginary wall once more. We want to come up vertebrae by vertebrae, all the way up to the top. And then we're going to roll the shoulders when we get to the top. Just taking the shoulders up, back, and down. Really good. Okay, so let's just look at the feet. So spreading your toes really wide, planting into those heels. And then I'm just going to play around with how we're going to take our weight through the feet. So just first of all, rolling to the outside edges of the feet. So just lifting up through the arches and feeling that stretch down the outside of the ankles as you roll and just stand on the outside edges. And then rolling back to center, we're going to roll into the inner arches. The knees are going to come together and we're going to lift up the outer edges. And then we're going to roll back through center and go to the outside edges. Might have a little bit of clicking and then gently come back into the inner arches and just see how it feels to take weight through your feet at these extremities, one way and the other. And do that one more time. And then as you stand up really tall, let's think about taking weight forward and back. So first of all, we're just going to tilt our weight forwards into the toes. So from the side, you look like you're on a funny diagonal. And this is just going to help activate all of the front body muscles. Bring a tiny bend into the knees. So you don't bend the knees, it's just a softness around the kneecaps. And we just probably could slide a piece of paper under our heels. And then are we breathing properly? Are we holding the breath? Because we're kind of doing something a bit challenging. If you're holding the breath or breathing shallowly, can you deepen that breath? Big inhale into the belly. So it can be good to put your hands on the tummy. Can you breathe into the hands? And exhale as if you're steaming up that mirror. That noisy Darth Vader breath. And then bring the hands onto the ribs and we're going to breathe into the tummy and then into the ribs. So this time my ribs are moving out to the sides with my hands. So it's belly and then ribs. So see if you can get maximum expansion in the ribs. And then the last part of the breath, Can feel also nice to have one arm in front and one arm behind here when you're getting into the ribs. That's another lovely little one. But the last part is belly, ribs, and then chest. So expand the chest as if you're breathing all the way up to the throat and let it go. Okay, come back to center. I'm going to shift the weight into the heels without falling over. Start to lean back as much as you can. The toes might lift off the floor. See if you can feel a sense of widening across the front of the hips. So these hips start to widen, and then feel a kind of gathering in together of the sitting bones. Maybe the glutes begin to get a bit engaged in the bottom. Bring the chin down and imagine you're leaning on that imaginary wall, but someone's just tilted it 10, 15 degrees, and then breathing into the belly. It's going to be a bit harder here because the belly's going to be engaged. So then can we breathe into the ribs? And then can we find it up into the chest? But using as much space in the torso as possible. Good. And then come back to center. We'll just march that out. And then we're going to take weight into one leg. So spreading the toes, planting the heel. We're just going to play around with lifting up the other leg. I'm just going to take a balance here. Now, if that feels a bit funny for your back, as you lift this leg up into 90 degrees, just round over ever so slightly and hold on to the front of the knee. So you've got a little bit of support through the arms. Now we want that micro bend in the standing leg. Kind of wake up all your toes, spread them. And this right leg that's off the ground, I'm flexing the toes up towards the knees. Now we want the standing leg to almost feel a bit shaky. We want to feel the work in the thighs and the calves. This is going to be the de-stressing, grounding part of the practice. Maybe have a sense of squeezing both legs back towards your own center line. So feeling like there's a closing in, a wrapping around of the body. Just see if we can hold it for 3. Don't worry if you fall out. Have a little wiggle and then join back in. Hold it for 2 and for 1. And then walk out, have a little march. Good. So it's a great way to build bone density and strength and muscle strength. Right, so bringing the weight into the other foot, spread the toes, plant the heel, lift up through the arch, and have that micro bend already in that standing leg. Start to shift the weight across. So let the weight go down first of all. Keep pouring the weight down into the floor. So as if you're growing roots through that foot, anchoring into the earth. So it can be useful to start with the hands on the hips. Now the other leg should feel quite light. The more we plug down into the standing leg, this other leg starts to feel light, like it almost wants to come up by itself. So just encourage that along. Flex the toes up towards your knee. If you want to round over and hold on to the knee, that's absolutely fine. Or you can just take the balance, keeping yourself nice and tall and straight. So whatever you did on the first side, just going to repeat that here. Now what can be useful is finding that center line. So just having a sense of maybe from the back of the spine wrapping all the way round, just visualizing it coming all the way round and almost zipping up the front like you're in a giant sleeping bag. And we're just feeling this strength through the legs as they kind of want to meet back in the center. So allow the other leg to shake if it needs to, allow the glutes to engage, the thigh and the calf. Just keep that standing knee ever so slightly bent. Relax the shoulders in the face. Keep breathing. We're just going to hold this for 3, for 2, and for 1. And then gently release and work it out. And just getting ourselves into one more pose. We're going to kind of come back towards the floor with this one. So we're going to start with the legs quite wide. Mine are at least mat width, and my feet are going slightly off the mat. And you want to have a little bit of space to your sides because we're going to take a wider stride off mat in a moment. I'm going to bend the knees out over the toes and start to walk down the body. And then walking out onto the hands. So I'm coming back into my downward dog, but I've got much wider legs. See if you can step your feet a little bit wider apart here and almost send the heels back to the floor as you push into the hands. I'm just going to take a really lovely wide leg dog here. So going as wide as you comfortably can, maybe about 4 foot. If you can get your feet about 4 foot apart, I'll show you from this way round. So the legs are nice and wide, but we're in downward dog. So pressing the hands down into the floor, pushing your bottom up to the sky, dropping your heart towards the earth. Doing really well, everyone. Just see how that feels down through the legs in a slightly different way. Good, and then we're just going to walk ourselves all the way back. Walk the feet in, and then we're going to just come down onto our bottoms. Good. So Marie, if you want to lie down on your back and do a few pelvic tilts and some bridges, just because that's more comfortable, safe for your back, please go ahead and do that now. Everybody else, just going to do a few roll backs to get to the floor. Great for anything going on in the back. Lots of you are talking about neck and shoulders, so this should feel quite good. So you can either hold on just in front of both knees, or and basically just kind of roll the tailbone under and roll down through the back. And we're just going to do a few of these roly-poly type things, trying not to land too heavy on the head, and try not to actually land on the feet. When you come up, you're going to hold it. If that's too much, you can always do kind of one leg at a time. So you're holding on to one leg, and the other leg is a bit long. So you've got a little bit more lever, a little bit more stability. So if you want to just do one leg, that's absolutely fine. The idea is that you round your back as much as possible and enjoy rolling through each and every vertebrae. And absolutely don't worry if you feel like you miss huge swathes of your back. It will come with time that you can get into all the little details. If you're doing one leg at a time, make sure you've had a go with both legs. So one leg's bent and one leg straight. And then on your last one, we're going to just roll down and bring the feet onto the floor. So from here, feet are close into the bottom, hip distance apart. Bring your chin in, and actually for most of us, we're going to need our pillow. So have a pillow under the head, and if you feel like your chin's jutting up towards the ceiling, you might even need to fold that pillow in two to give yourself a little double pillow. So you can basically give yourself a double chin and have lovely long back of the neck again, looking for that space in the scruff of the neck. And then we can look down the body and see what we're actually doing. So feet close in, you can almost catch them with your fingers when you put your hands onto the floor. Hip distance apart for the feet and the knees. So you've got about 6 inches, 8 inches between the thighs. And then you can just start to roll up. So pressing into the feet, rolling the bottom up, press the arms down onto the floor, and just send the knees away from your face. So we're stretching out those lovely thighs. Just keep the weight pressing down into the feet, keep breathing. And as you exhale, think about a nice ha breath. So you kind of go, the noisy breath. And at the same time, find a bit of pelvic floor and a bit of belly coming down for a bit of core work, a bit of core support. And then when you've had enough in your bridge, getting your thighs working, feeling that stretch through the thighs, working the core, just gently roll all the way down. And take your time as you land on the sacrum. And then we're going to just bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees flop out to the side. Now that can feel really comfortable here. You might just want to put the hands on the tummy or have the palms facing up if the arms are by your sides. Or if you feel like you've settled here, you might be able to undo the pillow a bit. So you might come back to a single pillow. Or if you feel like you can do no pillow, maybe moving any hair bands out the way if they're in the way. But if you've got no pillow, you definitely want to still be able to give yourself that double chin. So drawing the chin down and in, lengthening the back of the neck away. Can feel really lovely if you've got your hands to just cradle the head. Let the head feel heavy and inch off the floor. And as you cradle the head in the hands, you can just release anything kind of stuck in the neck by just letting the arms move forward and back. So my elbows are just kind of gliding forward and back in the air. And this movement with my arms is actually turning my head from side to side. But it almost feels like someone else is holding my head. My head's so heavy in my own hands and so relaxed that it feels like someone else is giving me a little bit of cranial sacral therapy. And when we feel like we've lengthened the back of the neck and can rest the whole head in our hands, gently start to keep the chin in and then let the back of the head come down onto the floor. And then if you want to get a little bit more into the shoulders, just fold those shoulder blades underneath towards each other and bring the arms out into either like cactus arms, 90 degrees with the arms, or making a little diamond over the head, or just arms out to the sides, palms facing up. Just be sure that your elbows are on the ground. So if your elbows are stuck up in the air, move your arms back down towards your sides until they actually land, and then you can rest there. Now let's just come back to the breath. So just allow the breath to kind of go completely. We don't have to move it or push it in any way. Just let it come and go with its own natural ebb and flow. Step into that place where you're observing your breath once more. You're observing your body do the thing that's breathing, the thing that it does all the time without us thinking about it. And we're just witnessing that breath coming in, noticing what moves, what expands, what leans into the ground as we inhale, and then exhaling, what changes. So it can be really tempting to feel like we have to do something to the breath, but just for the next 30 seconds or a minute or so, can you just watch what your body does as it breathes? And with every exhalation, that moment of softening through the body, let's get back into the detail. Can you relax any frown lines away from the forehead? Relax all the muscles around the eyes and soften the jaw. Can you feel really expanded and open across the heart and the chest? Breathing in a bit of self-care, a bit of self-love, a bit of value of oneself, a bit of nurture and care. You probably find it so much easier to nurture and care for others, for the women that we support with our work, our children, our partners, our friends. And we hardly think twice about ever treating ourselves with that same level of care. So just for this moment, can you? And then feeling that heavy sacrum, nice and rooted. Now if the legs, the back, if anything's starting to feel a bit achy, now might be a good time just to bring the hands under the thighs, help the knees come back together again. And then lengthen yourselves out just to lie on the floor for Shavasana. Again, if anyone's got any kind of backaches or niggles, you might prefer to have your feet planted on the floor. And if that's your position, just let the knees rest together and take the heels out. If you've got a blanket handy nearby or a jumper, you might want to just wrap that over you to keep a bit of warmth in. So just take a moment to get comfortable, but if you're already fairly comfy, just stay where you are. Maybe noticing sensations in the fingertips and the palms of the hands. Noticing that heavy sacrum, that lowest bit of our back, really rooting us and anchoring us into the earth. And when we're holding a lot of mental and emotional stresses, yeah, we can feel it in the neck and the shoulders. But actually, it's the sacrum that holds stuff. It's like a bowl. So can we just let it rest onto the ground and watch our bellies rising and falling? And then sending your awareness down through those thighs, feeling the muscles that we've worked in the front of the legs and the hamstrings at the back. And then feeling the bones deep inside the muscles. Can you let the bones feel heavy as the legs relax a bit more? Feeling inside the knees. Noticing the length of the shins. Softness in the calves. Feeling inside the ankles. And then as you move down into the feet, noticing the skin across the top of the feet, the arch across the soles of the feet, and then all 10 toes. And then coming back to the word asana, to sit quietly upon the earth. In this moment, can you feel your whole body sitting quietly upon the earth? Can you just be in the experience of being in your body as your body sits quietly upon the earth? Just being aware of sensation in and around your body. Maybe noticing the touch of the air on your skin, the feel of the blanket or the jumper or your t-shirt. Can you feel the ground underneath you? Letting your whole body sink deeper, deeper down onto the mat. And then allowing your awareness just to settle, noticing the soft skin across your forehead. Noticing the sensation in the center of the forehead. An interesting one there because it can feel massively expanded, like a funnel coming out of the forehead, and then also very pinpointed. So you can have that experience of holding both polarities. And notice what arises for you as you rest your awareness in the center of the forehead. We're going to give ourselves a few more moments, a few more minutes here to rest and recharge. This is the time where every single cell can actually do the job of replicating itself, healing, mending, or making a whole new cell. And our bodies can only really do that. Can only really do that when we're resting. Otherwise, they're functioning, they're in process. And we can't keep them functioning all the time. So allowing your body to rest, allowing every cell to enjoy its chance to heal and replicate and mend. Notice any sensations you feel in and around your body as you stay in awareness. Maybe even coming back to that sense of feeling beyond the edges of your skin, feeling into that energetic space that you take up, that kind of ready breath glow, and allowing yourself to really explore that maximum expansion of energy around your body, as if you're floating in space, floating and melting, being one with all the other particles all around you. And just enjoy that exploration, enjoy that sensation, whilst you stay just subtly in awareness. So we're just going to notice once more the ground underneath us, and just enjoy that sense of support from the earth, almost as if we're being held. Just feeling your body resting upon the ground. And then take a deep breath into the body. And literally send it to the fingers and the toes by giving them a little wiggle. Just bringing in a little bit of movement as you take a full, nourishing, energizing breath into the body. Just do that 2 or 3 times as you wiggle and stretch the fingers and the toes. And then curling up onto your side, bending the knees a little bit, maybe supporting your head if you haven't got a pillow. Just take a moment to rest on your side so that we can come out of Shavasana again with care, with that level of self-care and gentleness. And so as to not really disturb ourselves by just bouncing back into life. So taking a sigh there and just gently start to wake up the ears. So listening, what can you hear around you? In your room, in your building? What can you hear outside? And you just let all those sounds wash over you as you inhale again and open the eyes, looking softly at the floor and taking this feeling, hopefully this sense of coming back to yourself, sense of being present in this moment, a sense of calm and awareness, taking all of that with you as you open your eyes so that you can come back to it whenever you need to. Not necessarily on your yoga mat, but whenever you might need it. It's always there. So just enjoying the feeling you've cultivated from your practice and kind of pressing save so you know it's really there. And then on your next inhale, rolling onto your hands, gently spiral yourselves back up into a seated position, moving gently, checking out how you feel as you go, maybe giving your shoulders a little shoulder roll when you get all the way up to the top. And then we'll bring our hands into prayer position. And to each other, we say namaste. Namaste, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me with your practice this evening.